It's good to see you again.
Likewise, it's been too long.
I'm so happy that you're happy that things are working well for you here. Um, when you first approached me for the project, I thought, "Ooh, this room's going to have problems." You know, the room you're sitting in now because of
Mhm.
just the way it's built. We got a door over there, and this is here. And it's like, ugh. But
Mhm.
through the latest testing that we've done, finding out that a lot of these things, you'd think a door is a reflective surface, but if it's
Right.
surrounded by treatment, it's sort of masked by the absorption of that treatment around there. It kind of like closes it in. It's like a little magic cloud of absorption there. So
It's
it seems
it's
magic.
so it is. It totally is magic. It's funny because I obviously like the studio's in my house, so I got to like kind of experience it at every stage. I wasn't just like it wasn't completely finished and then it was finished. I got to sit in the room and get to experience what each piece of treatment did for the room. So it
Uh-huh.
made me value each piece even more so because I was like,
Oh, that's
oh, that's what this trap does. Oh, that's what the membrane traps do. Like, it was
yeah.
such a great learning experience. So, first of all, thank you so much, John. Like,
You're
seriously,
very
like,
welcome.
this is
Well,
such an immersive experience for like the engineers that work here and the artists. So, thank you for
oh,
everything.
good. That's marvelous. That is wonderful, exciting. That's great. Um, we had some difficulties with your tracking room, which is an old garage. And originally we thought it was taller than it was. And I had to modify the drawings and go through and fix it here and fix it there and get with the builders to, I think, was it the exterior was stucco? Is that right?
That is, yeah.
Yeah. And we had
And
to
it had a
patch
win.
some spots in window and things. Um, we had to make sure it's sealed up right. And so when you're recording in there, you tell me truly, when you're recording in there, you close the doors and you're walking across to the control room, you hear them banging away.
It it's such a crazy experience because I live right next to an airport as well.
Oh, okay.
So my biggest concern was that maybe we can't hear the outside noise, but maybe like a plane or a helicopter flies over and we're gonna capture that. It is dead quiet in there. It's amazing. You killed it. Like
Oh,
I've
good, good.
I've had a full live tracking session of a doom metal band, so stacks on stacks on stacks, and you can't hear anything outside. You hear
Oh
a little
man.
bit of like the low end, maybe,
Yeah.
but if you're having a conversation, you couldn't hear anything outside. It's
Oh,
amazing.
that is awesome. I'm scrolling down to your project. I've got to look at this because I'm trying to remember how it was designed and built. Let me because I'd like to share that if you don't mind.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So as always, I give my clients a index, which is the index page, the specs, and then the particular. Um, Whoops, hello. Whoop, it's just jumped because I'm trying to use my mouse to scroll. What happened here? Oh, there it is. Okay, so we got structural notes and treatment lists, and I have the treatment listed here like this, and this 400 series. These are the membranes you're talking about. These are limp bag traps. They're limp bags. Uh, and you notice what they do. It's good. That's cool.
It's amazing. It's
Yeah.
amazing. I don't know why that's not a bigger conversation in the space, honestly.
We talk about it quite a lot. They target specific frequencies, and
Mhm.
it's oh, what, why is this just the, where's the structure? Come on, I need to see the structure first. Got put in here backwards, I guess. Okay, here is the structure.
Mhm.
This is what we did, and I was thinking, I think we did a independent joist overhead, right? We didn't use hangers.
Correct.
Yeah, that's honestly the best way to go if you are. Yeah, see what we got here. Let's look at a couple more pages down. We can see the ends of the framing. There it is right here. Okay.
Mhm.
So we have our are independent isolated joists going here and here, and here's your roofing trusses or your basically, or what is it? It's just a rafter roof, rafters and ties. This is a tie going across here, and then we put our framing in between them. We kind of got it all in between, because if you need high isolation, which I'm trying to get the highest for you guys.
Yeah.
Well, you got airplanes flying overhead. Well, that's
Exactly.
needed high isolation. I wasn't sure if we were going to get that, but
Yeah.
it's wow. I'm impressed.
It's amazing. Absolutely amazing.
It always when you're building a structure like that, if you're trying to isolate, and a completely independent structure is far better than anything that's coupled in any way. Even if you use these, some kind of tie, resilient ties or anything, it's still connected.
Yep.
So there will be stuff passing through that. There's a resonant frequency for everything, and they have a coincidence resonance. And right there at that point, it just passes through like it's a board or a wire or whatever, So
Yeah. It's funny
having
you
it,
said that. Like every time I've worked at other studios, that's the one piece of feedback that I always give them, because it's such a nightmare, because most rooms in LA are not built properly. So you'll be in the control room trying to get volumes on drums, and you're hearing the drums leaking through the glass or leaking through the room itself. And sometimes I literally have to put on headphones to dial in drum tones, and that's no fun. You have all the cool gear and everything, like.
yeah.
So having the structure completely isolated, like really, and obviously the control room is treated so well that it's so immersive. It feels like I'm on the kit when I'm dialing things in.
Once we get those up,
Yeah.
or before they come, I'd like for you to discuss problems that you have had.
I've had.
Yeah, let's talk about problems and how they were solved, or if they were solved.
Yeah.
People want to know. It's everybody wants to know. Well, how is it going to help me?
Yeah.
What's in it for me? Let's help them out here.
So I think the biggest issue I had and got fixed, and then I'll talk about some that still are pending,
Okay.
was noise, actually. I think I personally hadn't done something that long. To give you an idea, from the control room to all the wiring through the tracking room, it's about 75 feet. So I had that speaker cable running from the control room all the way to the live room and
Oh,
all that stuff. And it was super noisy, and I could not figure it out. I tried dehumming it. I tried new cables. I tried so many things. And actually, what it ended up being was the piece of gear that I swore up and down that it was not. It was a Avalon V5. Um, but luckily, a company called Undertone Audio reached out to me and was like, "Hey, do you want to try this DI thing? You look like you do a lot of guitar amp stuff." I was like, "Yeah, absolutely." And that immediately solved most of my issues. Um, so like when it comes to like building a multiple room a studio, it was really hard to isolate and troubleshoot, like, oh, is it the cable, is it the gear, is it the live room, is it the mics. So like it took a long time, and I think it's really important. I made a really big mistake. Once the studio was finished, I was like, okay, I'm gonna hit the ground running and start recording. Like, I didn't give myself any time to like learn the room, see where like things could have been an issue or not. So I was learning on the
you are
fly.
not alone. You are not alone. Everybody does that. I
Yeah.
only get about 10% of my clients ever say, "Okay, John, I'm done. Let's test and let's run through these things and make sure everything's." Hardly anybody does that.
And
They get
honestly,
it done.
like,
They want to play.
yeah, exactly.
I want to
Exactly.
play.
Um,
Yeah.
but another issue that I had coming into it was Oh, John was a legend and made me a little like if we would look back on the drawings, there's only one mic panel, and as we were building it, I was like, you know what, I'm gonna need more IO than that. So we ended up doing two panels. But the issue with that is that the we didn't account for it in the conduit. So going underground from the from the control room to the live room and vice versa. So we had to redo the concrete and redo all the go into the risers again. And it was kind of a nightmare, but it was my fault at the end of the day. The wiring guy that helped me out was great, but we got XLR stuck underground a few times. So we literally had to rip them all out, and it was just
Oh
it was
no.
not fun.
Here's
But
the okay. Here's the point. Maybe we could make to help people when they're installing studios. Don't pre-wire your cables. Never pre-wire your cable.
yeah.
Fish your raw conduit or not your raw multi-core mic line through
Mhm,
the pipe, and make sure your low voltage pipe that you're running all your equipment lines, everything through,
mhm.
make sure it's big enough, and make sure you think about the future, as Jack Nicholson said in Batman. Think about the future.
Absolutely. Yeah,
So yeah,
that was a
yeah.
rough one for sure, but you're absolutely right. Like having room for growth, like and right now I'm debating whether to put like USB-Cs in the room now, you know?
Mhm.
Uh and maybe HDMI even, but that was something
Hey,
that I
see, look, here's the thing. I was just talking to a client in Pakistan who's putting in running HDMI everywhere. I said, there's a limit. There's just so many feet you can run
Mhm,
USB-C, USB-C. It's just a limit, and that's it. And USB 3,
mhm.
you can't run it very far at all. Okay,
Oh, interesting. Okay.
so forget about it. So what
There
you
you
need to
go.
do, you need to use a converter
Uh-huh.
and run it through Cat 6. You buy these
Ooh.
little converter boxes. You can plug. You get KVM boxes. There's certain. He just sent me a link for a box for the HDMI. So you don't want to run HDMI that long. I have 10-meter HDMI cables, and that's the maximum that I would recommend that you run it. And
Mm.
I use 4K. See, I got 4K cables. That's the limit. I think I may have stretched the limit, but I don't use those very long cables anymore. Probably
Right.
two meters is the limit, which is what's that? Uh,
6 feet.
you use a little more than 6 feet, maybe 7 feet. So um, that's the limit.
Yeah.
So those kind of things you really can't run too far, but you can. They make converters for these things, and you can run them through Cat 6, and then you can run them down the street if you want.
So, well, when I was like, yeah, let's do HDMI, all this stuff to my wiring guy, he's like, actually, have you ever heard of SDI? And I was like, I don't even know what SDI is. But it's essentially like the XLR, like the professional protocol for video. So it's like zero latency. You can run it for miles. And now we've got 8 channels of SDI in the studio as well. And like, yeah,
Wow.
exactly. So it was a constant learning experience for me throughout this whole journey. So
Mm.
thank you for doing all this because I don't know how you even organize this stuff in your brain, man. You're a
I don't
genius.
either. I don't either. Most of it's falling out. I have to sweep it up off the floor half the time.
It's all on Dropbox.
Yeah, it's there. Oh dear. Well,
But
that's great. That's good.
so problems that I still need to take care of at this point. Um Honestly, it's mostly space issues more than
Mm.
anything.
Yeah.
And you were upfront with me even from the get-go. You're like, dude, this is a small room. Like, I don't know if this is gonna work the way you want it to. And I was like, no, like this is all I got. Let's make it happen. But at this point, I'm getting busier and busier, and having, 5 up to 10 people in this tiny little control room it's a mission, and obviously, like, I have all the rack gear, that is consuming way more space. So a huge tip I wanna give people is, like, think about the people that are gonna be in the room. Don't just think about, well, majority of the time I'll be mixing, so, like, I only need 1 chair or 2 chairs or maybe a little couch. Think about, like, what the possibility it are in the future, because now I've got schools hitting me up trying to, like, do little seminars here. So, like, imagine a whole classroom in here. It's not gonna be comfortable, it's not gonna be fun for anybody,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
So definitely space is a major thing. And when John says it's the treatment is gonna take up X amount of room, it's X amount of room. It's not less by any means.
Yeah. Yeah. We're getting, actually, believe it or not, we're getting better at taking up less space
Amazing.
through technology. This is through testing data and what we've learned and what, so um, designs are progressing. Are you on Facebook? Are you in my Facebook group?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. Did you see the video of George's place that I put up?
I haven't.
George Tendero, he's mastering engineer in Norway. Really
Oh,
good.
yeah, with the flesh mounted ATCs, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So
Yeah.
beautiful. That was a
Yeah.
beautiful
That was a actually it was a hair pull. Had me pulling my hair out, that project. We had all kinds of fun things that we had to deal with. And I test, are you sure? Okay, well, let me think. Let me run the numbers. Let me think about this. And then we chose to do this and that and whatever. It's like there were about 3 or 4 times it was better. Yeah, are you sure? So, and George is so picky. He says, okay, so should I get this or this? Because I just told him get that, and he says, "Well, do you think I should get this instead?" And it makes me, it makes you rethink. It's like, "Geez, come on, man, no,
Wow.
get
Yeah.
that."
Yeah.
Anyway, but it's really good. He has very good, high attention to detail, which is really
Yeah.
really helpful. And you know, it nobody's perfect, and especially you hire a designer like me, not
Mhm.
perfect. I make mistakes. I overlook things, and so, but
Mhm.
if you're helping me pay attention, you go, what about this? Oh, I didn't see that. And
Yeah.
then we fix it. It's good. It's all
Amazing.
good. Talk about other issues that you've had and solved.
I'm trying to think. Mm, you know what? It's not really an issue. It was just something to get used to at first, and like make a good solution for it. In the live room, we made on the main mic panel. You gave me clean AC in there as well.
Yes. Mhm.
And, though obviously, like, when musicians spread out, they just wanna be all over the place. So, like, managing all the clean electricity throughout the room was a little bit of a task. We ended up just doing, like, long extension cables and a couple, like, Furman power
Exactly.
conditioners.
Yeah. Well, you don't need power. You should need them, but maybe you do. But
Yeah, just for
um,
more.
here's what I used to do when
Mhm,
I would have musicians all over the place. I would run a snake box
mhm,
from the panel. Say you got 16 channels, I get a 16 channel snake, put it in the middle of the floor or
mhm,
closer to wherever. Maybe you got most of the mics going to the drums, you got them there, and you got the guitar players just across over there, and you
mhm,
run an extension cord with a quad box there right next to that your stage box, and it's all tied together so it maintains the zero loop area. You got
mhm,
your extension cord from your amp that plugs into that quad box there. Your mic and DI go and follow that cable over to the amp, to the mic and stuff like that for the amp. And so you still don't have any loop area problems. Is that what you kind of ended up doing?
yeah, essentially, I have like little stations for everybody at
Yeah.
this point, where like
Yeah.
they can plug in their pedal board, they can plug in their amps. There's like a place for them to sit and everything. Uh, But man, it at first I was just like, how am I gonna get like clean electricity all over there? And obviously musicians don't want to listen. So they'll plug into the dirty power, and then I'm chasing noise for a
Mm.
half an hour, realizing at the end I'm like, oh, you plugged it in the wrong place. You plugged it into the wall on the opposite side of the room, man.
Yeah.
So yeah,
What about talkback and headphones? And what kind of system did you use?
so I have a Grace in 905, and it's just I put it into Pro Tools, send it out via Cat 6 now.
Okay.
Uh, and it works amazing. Like,
And people have their own little mix station thing that they can control their own headphone. Beautiful. That's a beautiful way
exactly.
to do
One
it.
thing I learned relatively quickly, because there's no window here, obviously, because it's a
Hmm.
whole different situation, is putting one of those mixer boxes in the control room so I can actually monitor what they're listening to. Like,
Yeah.
huge, because I can hear them better on the headphones, obviously, because I'm only sending the drum channels that they need to hear in
Yeah.
the can more than I can hear it in the room. And also, like, you can hear so much in the control room that when the band is talking behind me or anything like that, when I put those headphones on, I feel like I'm just in the room with the drummer, or like I feel like
Yeah.
I'm like the little devil talking to the drummer, you know?
Yeah. That's great. That's brilliant.
Yeah,
Really
yeah.
good. Yeah. Yeah, but Raul, people want to hear these stories. People want to hear how you do it. They may have some different ways and stuff, but some of these things people haven't thought of, maybe. Um,
Mhm.
boy, my old school. I can tell you stories about how we did the Q mixes.
Oh,
Usually
sweet.
I mean, in the old days, you got two mixes, and they were both mono.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. You got, yeah, I mean, you get a little headphone box, and the box plugged into the XLR that plugged into it was power coming out of a big crown amplifier, just straight into your box.
Whoa.
You had some resistors in there that that limited the current to the headphones, but you get burn up headphones all the time from these guys. Um, but you have a stereo mono switch, and you could switch it to mono, and then you have a mix. Basically, you got the band here, and you got the vocal here, so
Oh,
you could just
cool.
mix it there like that in the mono mix on your
Uh-huh.
cans.
That's awesome. Yeah. And I'm sure it worked. I'm sure it worked great too.
It
Uh,
did.
yeah. So right in my studio, we're running 8 channels for monitor mixes, which is awesome. Just because I feel like continues to grow. I see like 16 channel headphone mixers. I
I
feel like
know.
16 is a little too much for like an artist, you know. But
Yeah,
just like, it's awesome that you can do all this via Cat 5. It's just one little cable, or Cat 6.